Hello ladies and gentlemen, as you can probably gather by what you can see in front of you, we are talking a different topic today. We are talking WWE. WWE is something that some people love and something that some people hate, but what we are here to talk about today isn't the semantics of pro wrestling. We are here to talk about what happened yesterday at WWE. WWE have definitely been affected by goings-on. They, unlike most sports, are still able to continue. They are still putting out weekly live shows. Definitely controversial. They're running a very small staff from a closed location, but one of those members in particular, Jerry Lawler, he is a man in his 70s who is flying out week in and week out to do commentary on a show that he doesn't really add much to. So there's just one controversial aspect of WWE's continuation during current times. Another controversial element came, as I said yesterday, with a series of statements and releases from the company. We'll look at their corporate statements. They have said that they are reducing the executive board compensation, so I would guess that would mean payouts to Vince, his family and his executives. They are looking to decrease operating expenditure, which they have done by running all shows from inside the Performance Center, and cutting talent expenses. And they have done that by publicly releasing close to 30 personnel from their talent pool. These are people who, much like you or I, are relying on their jobs for their families, to pay their bills. It's not the big names, the ones on the massive money contracts, that are the ones that have been released. It's the smaller guys, for the most part, who won't be on the multi-million-dollar-a-year deals. And some of these releases have really caught people off guard. There's people who have appeared on the recent WrestleMania a couple of weeks ago, people who were advertised to perform last night and at future events who have been let go. These releases came out of nowhere and caught a lot of people off guard, and it leaves a lot of people in an uncertain position, and some of the social media reaction to it has certainly encapsulated that. Before we look at who has been released, let's look at what's brought this on. I think a lot of this can be attributed to the XFL. Vince McMahon had a go at bringing back the XFL, and by all the XFL is the Extreme Football League. He launched it in the early 2000s. It's a really hardcore, in-your-face, showman version of American football. It didn't work. He brought it back as traditional American football, but with more pace. It was shown on ESPN, Fox Sports, and by all accounts, it was a massive success. Viewership numbers were very reasonable. The actual game play itself was pretty entertaining, but unfortunately the season was cut short due to suspension of games with crowds. The season ended halfway through, and in the past couple of days they've had to cease operations and file for bankruptcy. Now, Vince pretty much was funding this all off his own back. If you look at WWE's share price from before the XFL was announced, at one point it was up to $90. It was about $70 when the XFL was announced. It's now down to about $34, probably dropping even more so up to today's news. This is because Vince McMahon sunk his own money into funding the XFL to build it and to create something with it, with the hope of obviously securing a massive TV deal for a continuation. That looks unlikely. There are still several creditors on notice regarding the XFL who still need paying for the rent of the stadiums, the facilities, and so on and so forth. Moving away from the XFL, we go back to WWE, which is what we're here to talk about. Obviously, they are unavailable to run house shows, they are unavailable to sell tickets. Realistically, that drops the merchandise sales by a massive amount as well, because a lot of merchandise that's built, as much as they're running merchandise deals and special offers on the online store, a lot of merchandise is bought by the families who come to these events. Eric Rowan picks up the win in that ladder match. I'll just restart it so there's something going in the background. So yeah, a lot of the money is bought by the fans in attendance. A lot of money is spent by the fans in attendance. And a lot of money is made by ticket sales. Of course, TV deals are a huge part of WWE's payout, as are the Saudi Arabia shows. The Saudi Arabia shows seemingly are done for a while, with travel restrictions and such. And that is mainly why WWE have gone back to live shows, because I think there's a clause in their deal saying that they must go live, I believe, 49 times a year. Out of the 52, I think they're only allowed 3 taped shows. I don't think there was any pressure from the TV networks to fulfill that, but I think there was an element of doubt in Vince McMahon's mind that he may be cut short, they may claim money back if they didn't fulfill that. He's a multi-million-dollar businessman, though. Surely in times like these, you can afford to take a loss here or there just to look after everybody's well-being. Clearly, that's not the case. So, I'm going to start things off with a couple of names and a couple of figures. For his match against The Undertaker in 2019, Goldberg made $3 million from a single match. Tyson Fury, his recent Saudi Arabian showdown with Braun Strowman, made around $13 million for that one match and the shows in the run-up to it. Cain Velasquez signed a multi-year deal in WWE that was so lucrative, AEW didn't even try and compete, and neither did the UFC. None of these names, none of these people have been released. Brock Lesnar is known to be on $3 million a year. That could even be more these days. But that's a lot of money between a very small amount of people. There's been no reports about anyone being asked to take pay cuts or anything of the sort. The only thing that's come out is today's releases. So we'll talk a little bit about the releases. First name I'm going to mention, Drake Maverick. Formerly Rockstar Spud, he was the general manager of 205 Live. He was the manager of the Authors of Pain for a little while. Interestingly enough, he was advertised to appear on NXT last night in the interim Cruiserweight Championship tournament. I believe he still did appear in said match, even after being released from the company. I watched a little video on Twitter. Go to his profile, at Drake Maverick, and watch the video. The guy is in tears. This is his life. This is what he loved. He's travelled from the UK. He had a run with TNA. He finally got his break in WWE. He was mainly a comedy character, not given much time to wrestle, more of a manager. But he had a great involvement in growing the 24/7 championship as well. And you can see his passion. You can see what this means to him. He's recently married. And I dare say he wasn't on a massive contract. A man who's given a lot. And you could tell just what pro wrestling meant to him. And I was nearly in tears watching the video myself. because he's just been given a shot and then it's all been taken away from him again. Other names on the list, pretty much everyone in this match that you're seeing on the TV, they've all been released. Rowan was getting a mini push with the weird spider thing in the build-up to WrestleMania. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows had just signed fairly sizable new deals to keep them with the company. They were in the Boneyard match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania. Rusev recently had the feud with Bobby Lashley over Lana. Does this mean Lana's going as well? Nothing's been announced yet, but it's possible. Sarah Logan, she appeared in the Elimination Chamber, just had the match with Shayna Baszler on Raw with the unable to continue finish in the Money in the Bank qualifier. Heath Slater's gone, so unfortunately we won't see all three members of the three-man band winning the WWE Championship at some point in his career. Who knows? Maybe he'll come back and get a monster push. I think that's one thing to note with these releases. I would expect everyone who's been released to get a 90-day no-compete, and I expect that a lot of these people will be coming back to the company after everything is over and done with. Although if you were one of these people, I think there would definitely be a sour taste in the mouth. There'll definitely be some bad feelings left over. You're in a time of need and your paycheck's been taken away from you, regardless of what it is. There's been some very strange ones as well. Mike Chioda has been with the company for 30 years, the referee, and he's been let go. You've got a lot of the former wrestlers who are now backstage agents. Understandable that you don't need agents. You're not doing house shows, you're not needing people to put together these matches, look after everyone on the road as much, because these matches aren't happening. But it's just a very strange for such a huge number of cuts in such a short space of time for a company like WWE. I think it really is not going to resonate well with fans. I think it's in poor taste to release so many people, especially when it is such a time of need, a company with such a huge financial background. WWE say that their releases in their corporate statement will save $4 million in running costs each month. All is well and good, but how much is $4 million really going to make or break the bank for a company of the size of WWE? Ultimately, it leaves a sour taste in the fans when you look at how this company is looking after its talent. A company that's thrived on having this extensive talent pool. It's often been the case where you've thought that they maybe do have too much talent. Some of the people that have been released, Kurt Hawkins for one, No Way Jose, and Primo and Epico, we've barely seen those people on TV for a long, long time. Eric Young the same. I think this is a great chance for some of the talent to go on to bigger and better things elsewhere, but when you say elsewhere, the financial viability is really not even in the same ballpark. You've got TNA still going, but again, they're a company that's always been on the breadline, probably can't offer too much in terms of financial security for wrestlers coming in. AEW, they're taped up until May anyway, so it's not like they can bring anybody in straight away. And they are a company that's looking to sustain itself through wrestling income alone and not investment. And so I can't see them finding a place for 30 new talent. And the financial security from the independent scene compared to the WWE is just, well, that's, you get paid as you perform. That you get paid when you turn up to a show. Shows aren't being run at the minute, so the independent scene is really, really struggling. We saw one of the British indies, they run a empty arena show to embrace talent, show off up and coming talent, which got a great response and a great reception on YouTube. Will Ospreay was involved in that, but everyone that appeared on that show appeared for free. And if the only way to run shows is empty arenas, they only ran that because they had a venue anyway. But of course, not selling tickets, you're not going to make any money, and you can't afford to pay wrestlers. So, I don't know what the American system's like, whether there is a furloughing option. I'm pretty sure if these wrestlers that got released, these backroom staff, had been asked if they could take a 50% pay cut or a 30% pay cut, I'm pretty sure they would have all said yes to that, as opposed to being released. I think it caught a lot of these guys off guard. You can tell by the reaction of Drake Maverick in his video. I really don't think he saw it coming. And you can see the superstars that are still there. There's a lot of heartbroken emojis, there's a lot of messages of support, but messages of support can only go so far. We've talked about the people that WWE have kept on. I'm pretty sure if you asked a lot of the wrestlers in those locker rooms if they would have taken a 30% pay cut, I'm sure a lot of them would have, to help their fellow athletes, their brothers and sisters in the industry out. There's a lot of those retired ex-pros who've been around with the company, turned into agents, who've been there for a very, very long time, who a lot of the younger talent look up to, and they're now no longer going to be there. I think it's going to be a sad day when all is said and done and these talent all meet up again on the road, and a lot of people aren't there. At the moment they're running the smaller shows, so it's probably not going to quite hit as hard. It's an understandable aspect that you need to save money when you have less money coming in, but a company of this size surely has to do more to support. And yes, they may have let everybody go and told them, we'll bring you back in when everything is over, but really, that could be 6 months down the line before things get back to normal, and would you want to go back to a company that's let you go in your most vulnerable time? I think there's already backlash coming from the media and from wrestlers in general around the shows that they're still running. You're taping live every week, so if you have to go to a live show, do you then do you just stay in Florida and stay away from your family so that you're self-isolating? Do you go home and risk passing on anything you may have caught from the 10, 15 people you've interacted with while you're there? It's a combat sport at the end of the day, and you're interacting with more people than you need to. As much as it's great for the escapism to have a show to watch on a Monday, a Friday, a Wednesday as well if you watch NXT, is it necessary to go live? If you taped 5 weeks in a row, everyone got together, you tape your 5 weeks, and that gives everyone 2 weeks to self-isolate, then they can spend 3 weeks with their families. Now you're putting so many people at risk. So many people at risk. Look at Daniel Bryan, he's going home to a young child and a pregnant wife. Can he really continue to come and do weekly shows? I'm really not sure. It's a very strange situation. Florida have deemed WWE to be an essential activity. They're allowing them to continue filming because there's no audience. It's almost like Vince McMahon's putting money into Trump's campaign and has been supported that way. Oh wait, he is. that's another story. What are your thoughts? Does this leave a foul taste in your mouth? Are WWE wrong to cut so many talent? So many producers, so many people that have been part of that family for so long? So many people who have given a lot to the company? So many people who are reliant on their paychecks to be likely cut, released with 90-day no-compete, which means that they realistically can't go out and earn any money for 90 days. And even if they haven't got the 90-day no-compete, there are very, very limited options for where they could go. I think that's the worst thing about all this. Please leave your feedback down below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this update. I'll see you again soon on the next cast or the next video. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Bye.